Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome aboard to the Dorman MMA channel, where hopefully you will learn a thing or three about the sport of mixed martial arts. So, this was a fan request for a striking into takedown skill builder, and I figured, why not? So, since we haven't done a skill builder in a while, since the liver one, this one is pretty much sequitur. I have them 1 through 5 there. Feints into takedown, strikes within the clinch, or striking your way into it, strikes within the clinch to takedown, distance strikes, then kind of potpourri and or miscellaneous. As you see here, wonderful takedown from Jones. That'll be coming up later. That would be something like striking into the clinch. So we'll go somewhat in order, distance and just kind of by distance and difficulty. Firstly, I want to just show some nice feinting into takedowns. Feints tend to cause high defensive posture, taking away a line of defense. In the example given is hooks in this one. I did use Dan Hardy a lot, and I use George much more. I think he's the best example of it. So sometimes drawing out the strike is the idea in this case. So by kind of feinting the jab there, he brings out that right cross. This is a pretty insane one that's changed over the years, but I found an old footage of it. You get a high shell from the opponent from kind of like a feinted hammer fist. Yoel Romero then grabs the ankle from a stand and pulls back up and away. And this is beautiful work and one of his best performances, George versus Alves right there. And again, see what's happening is you're slipping strikes upon your penetration, right? So by feinting a jab, if someone might parry that, like in this case, Frankie does the quick sit, flashes the right hand, and so does, and Maia responds with one of his own, but it ends up getting parried into a takedown by Frankie. Now this, very similar from George, it's always kind of flashing the strike to then get an overextension in a clear lane. So imagine these in real time if you're the opponent, because I have been, and it's pretty near impossible to distinguish that little quick flash if that's a jab or if he's shooting for a takedown. But in real time, you've got to keep your hands high in hopes of either defending that jab possibly, or the counters that are, that are available to you. But either way, you're on your heels and you got heavy feet. So see his elbow there, he's trying a left hook, but it is like George is already in, like his shoulder's already in on the sternum. And of course, once you're that deep, the rest of it is kind of like going through the motions. So here's when you're stringing a strike into the clinch, and usually that involves an overextension. See the right hand of Emelianenko right there is past the opponent, kind of uses that into a turning. It's sort of a lateral drop of the suplex. This would be kind of an exception to it. This is old school Gaethje kind of backstepping into a 6 or right uppercut, which is going to literally bring the opponent up. And this way he can then clench his hands with the path that he created there. A little different than the norm, but here's Jones. He's in the argument for one of the best I've read it as well. Right hand off center line and past the target very clearly, and it creates a lane for him to get to the back of the head, which is kind of paramount to most clinching. See how there's that collar tie and his left hand was through to the hip. Beautiful stuff. Oftentimes that's kind of the chosen path for the judoka, sambo players, Greco-Roman stylists, if you will. We don't want to be so short-sighted that we forget the dominance of Ronda in the day. This is Karo Parisian, an Armenian gentleman, one of the better judokas we've seen, pure judokas in the UFC. What I wanted to show there was the frame into the bicep control here by Bosch, and now watch, there's the right hip fulcrum, beautiful whizzer into a takedown. We'll see another one coming up too, and that was definitely one of Ronda's kind of things, was striking her way somewhat into that head and arm. With Fedor, it looked a tad reckless at times, but it was nevertheless efficient. See something like that, there wasn't the control of, say, like a Khabib or other sambo stylists, but at heavyweight, I think things are going to look like that anyway. When it's slowed down, you see what's actually happening. So the right hand is going to take the head off of center line and or just the focal point. And as soon as his hands are together like this, belly to belly and hip to hip, shucking someone that way is not hard at all, because the fulcrum is right there in front of you. Running judo throws, someone like Hector Lombard's excellent at. It is kind of like running through the opponent in a way, but you want to strike your way there. This again is a little bit different. This is kind of similar to what we saw with Gaethje before with Cub Swanson, a quick sit 6. And now what you want to take a look at is his left foot. This is the brilliance of this. Up and around, now he's on the outside of the leg while his hand's coming up so that he can whizzer the left arm and then keep your eye on his left leg. It goes from the outside now to the other side, and that way he can do this beautiful hip toss. So speaking of that, here's Rhonda doing her kind of overextend of the jab into her head and arm control that she likes so much. And there it is against Miesha Tate as she cross steps or penetrates steps across and does kind of like a valley drop. She's kind of reckless. It's similar to like Fedor in these exchanges where, you know, the arms look a little goofy, and she wants that from Miesha, maybe not to take it so much on the back of her head. And what you'll see here is like Miesha's actually in proper defense with her hand through. It's kind of like a standing switch, and tries to penetrate step around, but with that kick up there, you get a beautiful kind of like a variation on the Uchimata from Rhonda. And if nothing else, she really put these on the map, and there's not much of an argument there. This is Maia's kind of bull rush. She does this kind of blitzing fury into Chael Sonnen against the cage, and what he does is this sort of like, people think of it as a guard pull, and some other people think of it as a lateral drop. It's really neither, because he uses his foot to kind of sweep him around there. I didn't put in the triangle that he finishes because the sequence is a little long and off topic for this video, but see, you're seeing more of this kind of striking your way into an over-under or a clinch situation, which then allows for some type of like a Judo Greco type throw. You usually don't see too many like double legs from there unless it's, say, DJ. And again, this was Rhonda. Now she's already in the clinch, right? So this knee strike then allows for that, what some people will call a cross step or a penetration step, as just follow through. See, her left leg now is already there in place for a hip wheel. Some people call that a valley drop. The Judo Nazis will certainly be out in spades for this one. I don't care. Takedowns from clinch strikes. Like, again, this is Kat Zingano. I think people kind of forget about this fight against Amanda Nunes. She's got a front face lock on, and see how she switched her left hand there after the knee. So with Amanda trying to defend the knee strikes, it allows for her hooks to adjust. She did one already, and now you're gonna need a little deeper, and she does what's the equivalent of like a back roll there from the front face lock. That's beautiful stuff. GSP again, king, knee strike into knee pick. That is beautiful. Timed well right into a pass guard of Matt Hughes. Hector Lombard, again, judoka, black belt, very high level. And look at the way this off balances. When you see someone's feet really fly up in the air post throw like that, it's telling, to say the least. So this is a knee into a Harai Goshi. And again, it's the momentum. See the rights there? Grabs the tricep, steps through with the left leg, and then uses that as the fulcrum with sort of a kickback in it. Now this is kind of ironically something I call the Dan Henderson, or the Hendo, which is just his nickname. And a lot of times it'll be distance strikes in a right hand with the right hip following. I've showed it a few times, but here it is from a distance there into a knee pick. DC's far enough away to know. And with someone like Henderson, who is a very, very high level skilled wrestler, knows how to defend, but what do you do to that? Not much. So another running throw, but this one, there's really like no clinch. This is just running right into the strikes, into the fulcrum sweep. So kind of like the Hendo, the right hand has a hip that follows. So both of them are kind of working in a symbiotic nature. And there's the kind of fulcrum you don't see. There's a twitch by Sarah and a drop three by George. Now the little bit of a three that lands takes the head off center line and allows for the momentum, which the left hook kind of always does when you land it. It allows for you to then use that momentum to then duck under. It's kind of like pulling your right hand back right. So with George, it's always a double-edged sword of distance dominance and the causation of confusion. The proverbial chess game, if you will, of guessing, of strike and shot. Is it a jab? Is it a double leg? Is it some variance between the two? This is the first fight. George, of course, lost at the very end, but see right here, I kind of highlighted Hughes' hands are just a little bit too high to then get down and defend that single. Head outside, not proper form, but that was very early in George's career. This is against Sean Shirk, and against a shorter opponent, you really do need to strike up high to then change levels. Otherwise, their hip level will kind of get in the way. With someone like Fitch, who's like-sized or like-heighted, if you will, you don't need to play with that much distance. It's a little bit different. So here's the 1-2 over-under into the Cejudo. which is kind of that inside reap from an over-under here, like the pummel. And he does it against the fence, and that's a literal lateral drop, only because I showed one earlier that wasn't. Here's another Hendo-ish right hip drag off the right hand, and he goes for the high C there on Barnett. Beautiful stuff from Cormier to then take him up and over. That's his Greco background. He's a master at that. This one here is a tad miscellaneous, if you will. This is a Superman punch cross into a left knee pick from George. Very sequitur. That is a young rush St. Pierre there. This is certainly unexpected and certainly effective. Here's Gustafsson kind of drop stepping, flashes the jab up, and then gets down low enough to get underhooks on DC here. There it is, high hands. DC's going for a counter, miss. Level change by Gus, and there his hands are kind of shrugged up. Uses an outside reap to then use momentum to get him down, and he attempted a back take there to no avail. So random. Caught kicks, often a missed exchanges, or kind of drawn out via something. Then having the leg in hand certainly aids with unbalance, right? Sometimes it's a strike, like in that case right there against Hughes. With George, it was something you saw a lot in his fights. He would just draw kicks out, especially against someone like Thiago Alves, who loved his low kick. George ate him pretty well. Even someone like Matt Serra here tried a low kick. What I liked about this is from this right hand strike, what you'll notice is there's going to be an overextension of said right hand. You'll notice that's kind of thematic throughout this whole video. You see the right hand here going around to get the attempted knee pick on the right hand as Serra's kind of shuffling his hips. But look at that beautiful ankle pick with his left hand. That's gorgeous. Same thing here against Shields, ends up being sort of like a shuck. And there a missed exchange with Alves. There's a better one coming up later, I assure you. Air cut kick. Look at the jab, and what you'll notice with George is this is part of his distance dominance. This is part of his GOAT status. Is where is he? How far? How effective is that? Distance between him and the opponent. And what is that going to create in the interim? And if you said timid, you would be correct. So strikes, feints to invite strikes into the takedown. A lot of times it can just be some type of movement that's going to invite or its causation of the hands to be extended of the opponent in an off balance, kind of that flamingo leg effect. Again, this is with Shirk, and I wanted to point out that point that I was making prior about the distance being different when the opponent is shorter. So it's all about off balance and creating clear lanes, which both happen there. He landed a 1-2 and he feints the one again. See, his elbows are in position, and Shirk is completely defending that, leaving that clear path for a penetration of his shoulder into that long range takedown. So finishing off with two of my favorite sequences ever in this regard. First, the pull counter into knee pick against Thiago Alves right here. Now look at that beautiful lean back, very much like a Mayweather pull counter. He leans back as though it's going to be like a slip and rip, some people call it a cross counter. The rip is actually going to be a level change here, so off that right hand he then level changes, gets both, and what you're going to see here from Thiago is what normally would be proper defense, but George is the greatest of all time. So what he does is shuck that arm then up, so he's raising it into a tall underhook, making Thiago tall as well. And while bringing his hip along with him, he knee picks as well on the same side, and then can kind of turn that left shoulder in towards his own right, and it becomes like a knee pick or a running takedown. My second favorite, and this one because it involves him doing kind of Roy Jonesing his piston pumping. See, there he is with the jab. It's like 3-3-3-1, and then he hits the one. He does it again. Now look at the height of Koscheck's elbows here. Draws out that left hook into a takedown, and that's what he was kind of keying off throughout that fight. So it's beautiful stuff. Hopefully you got something from it, and if you liked, hit the like button by all accounts and share with your friends. I thank you for watching. Much love. Cheers.